This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on the South Today, the signing of the Armistice Day in 1918, which ended World War I, was commemorated at Dunedin Cenotaph this morning. A young rescuer is celebrated at her school, with her parents thankful for many years of swimming lessons. And a Dunedin artist is inundated with orders for her unique crocheted Christmas decorations. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Sophie Morris. The signing of the Armistice Day in 1918, which ended World War I, was commemorated at Dunedin Cenotaph this morning. The service began with a 25-pound gun salute, featured the reading of the Ode, and was an eye-opening experience for a very young audience member.
And in the morning, they were remembered again. The air shook and heaved as a 25-pound gun fired twice at Dunedin's Cenotaph, marking the signing of the Armistice in 1918. Dunedin's service was led by Padre Aaron Knotts, with the formal speeches given by retired New Zealand Army Colonel Roger McElwain.
On Armistice Day here in Dunedin in 1918, large crowds gathered and celebrated far into the night. Others did not feel like rejoicing. One woman had been nursing the wounded in France. Her fiancé, her two closest male friends, and her beloved only brother had all been killed.
Otago historian Sean Brosnahan says the Great War ending was celebrated in many places around the world, but not so much by the frontline troops.
But what it signifies is the end of the hostilities back in 1918 after 4 absolutely gruesome, grinding years of massive loss. So there was a lot of rejoicing back here at home. It didn't seem to be quite the same with the troops overseas. So when they knocked off on the 11th hour of the 11th day, 11th month in 1918, there was sort of just kind of an exhaustion, I think, about the troops, and they were pretty low key with their response.
8-month-old Madison Russell, with a bright red poppy in her hairband, was taken to the cenotaph by her parents. Her mother, Samantha, only missed Anzac Day this year, as she'd just given birth to Madison.
The reason that we came today was because my mother served in the army for 21 years, so it's been a very big part of my life. I didn't go to childcare, the army was my childcare, and then before that I've had grandfathers and grandmothers and all types of people in my family, my father as well have all served, so it's been very big for me, so I want to pass that down to my daughter Madison.
As is customary, flags were lowered as the last post was played, before Reveille saw them raised again. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Annual Armistice Day commemorations were also held in many centres around the South.
Armistice Day was marked across Otago and Southland this morning. In Tapanui, about 70 people attended the commemorations held at the West Otago RSA. It was a similar scene in Invercargill, where the ceremony was well attended under overcast skies, with soldiers, past and present, standing shoulder to shoulder with civilians. In Wanaka, about a dozen people attended a ceremony at the War Memorial, where 3 minutes of silence was observed, an ode was read and the last post played. In Arrowtown, about 60 people took part in this year's ceremony. After a minute's silence, people were invited to put their poppies in a World War I army helmet. Across the regions, the South Today.
And later in the bulletin, we check in with events leading up to today, held in Alexandra recently. A 6-year-old was swept out to sea while boogie boarding on Sunday afternoon at Tomahawk Beach. Luckily, he was accompanied by his friend, who was able to get him back into shore.
Returning to where she became a hero, saving a young friend's life. On Sunday, 15-year-old Polly Ludlow-Caddy made a split-second decision to return to the water, saving her friend. Her parents recall the weekend's events.
When I got to her in the ambulance, she was about as white as the sheet she got in, and she kept saying to me, "Are you mad at me, Mum? I just didn't want to let him go." I just didn't want to let him go.
Once she reached 6-year-old Toby, Polly pulled him to the surface, dragging him towards nearby rocks, where Toby's father Dan Baker reached them. With the assistance of 2 men, the trio were pulled off the rocks before emergency services arrived. Polly's parents say they couldn't be more proud.
I'm in awe of my daughter. She's a tiny little thing, but that took some serious tenacity and courage.
It was a slow dawning realisation of how much it took as well.
Yeah, and how long and what she was battling. I mean, she had him around by the waist in the water when she couldn't keep him on the board, and she was swimming with the boards flopping about them, with him under her arm, swimming.
Being stuck in the surf and dragging him onto the back of the boogie board when he'd fall off.
She describes the waves as being bigger than Dan, and that was the little boy's father. She was just tenacious.
Polly attends Sarah Cohen School, where her bravery was celebrated yesterday. The school's principal, Matthew Tufaya, says the school is incredibly proud of their pupil.
We're very proud of Polly. I mean, all of our kids are heroes, but not all of them do heroic things, so it's fantastic to see one of our students do something so amazing. So we're very proud of Polly here.
Polly's parents are thankful for encouraging her to take swimming lessons for many years, and say it's a timely reminder of the need to be water-wise. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A brood of rare native ducklings that hatched at Queenstown's Kiwi Bird Life Park yesterday will soon be sent to Wild Duck School. With only about 2,500 blue ducks, also called Fio, left, the species is listed as being endangered. Staff say each duckling released is a valuable boost to the wild population of the native bird. The first 2 ducklings broke out of their eggs yesterday afternoon, while the remaining 2 were expected to hatch over the next few days. Earlier this breeding season saw 6 other ducklings hatch, being sent to the Isaac Conservation and Wildlife Trust in Christchurch for the next stage in their rearing. A Dunedin artist's Christmas creations have already gone viral. Emma Hogg has crafted COVID balls, which she says make the perfect quirky decoration for a car or tree this Christmas.
It's a long way from a partridge in a pear tree, but following a conversation with her partner, Dunedin artist Emma Hogg is creating Christmas baubles, which may very well go viral.
It was my partner's idea. He said, that COVID graphic on the TV, he said, you should make that. And I was just like, oh, what? How do I do that? So he just gave me the idea. I had to figure out how to do it.
Hogg crochets the balls using skills handed down from her family. She's making roughly 2 balls an hour, and with a $25 price tag per ball, says they're almost financially worth it.
You never get your money back for how much time you put into crafts, I'm afraid, but these aren't too bad.
The balls can be hung on Christmas trees or used in cars as decorations. And Hogg says after the year 2020 has been, she thinks people might appreciate a little light relief.
It's been a ridiculous year, hasn't it? So I don't think it hurts to have a wee laugh about it, if you can, if you're willing to do that. Not everyone is, but yeah.
She crochets the decorations using wool stuffed with cotton, replicating the graphic of the COVID-19 virus image, which has been across the media for most of the year. Hogg says she's not too worried if other artisans make their own versions.
I knew Mum said as soon as you put them in the shop, people are going to copy them. So it's on the original COVID ball, maybe we could say.
She says her process isn't unique, as part of the design is based on a much more friendly and familiar crochet design.
So I do it's actually based on the teddy bear in a way, because every teddy bear starts with a ball structure, and you just go long for the leg or keep it round for the head.
She says as long as people keep buying them, she'll keep making the virus-inspired decorations. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today, we hear about Armistice events held in Alexandra recently, and school pupils gathered to perform as a massed orchestra.
All new episodes of Put Some Colour in Your Life are now screening on Channel 39. Take a look at Australian artists and the techniques they use in their studio. Put Some Colour in Your Life, Tuesdays, 7:30.
Hi, Al Campbell Menswear. We're back in George Street on the corner of Hanover Street. Come and check out our big store. It's a big space full of bargains. Now look at these shirts. There's shirts for everybody here. Look at these merino pullovers, stacks of moleskins, literally tons of trousers. Check out these big racks of sports jackets. Beautiful.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
So come and check out Alex Campbell Menswear. We're back on George Street in the old ANZ building.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Allied Press and the Otago Daily Times are, an integral part of business in Otago and the South, and these awards are really our opportunity to celebrate and amplify what goes on in this part of the world and the successes that we have.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
You've seen us in the street, now find us online. Check out shopon.org.nz. We have all sorts of treasures, from retro and vintage clothing to antiques, homewares and accessories. New items added every week. We're open 24/7.
Inside are all sorts of innovations from all over China.
Welcome back. The Otago Polytechnic is benefiting from a rush of people wanting training for primary sector and construction industry jobs. The Polytech is reporting an almost 50% increase in training and domestic enrolments following COVID-19 related job losses. The increased domestic demand has helped the Polytech raise a $13 million hole after a fall in the number of international students. It says domestic students would fill most program areas next year. The Polytech is now well above its enrolment target for 2021 and is now expected to break even next year. Men, women and children have paid their respects during Remembrance Day 2020. The annual event acknowledges that on November 11, 1918 at 11 a.m, hostilities ceased on the Western Front.
At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, they'll be remembered again. Alexandra Clyde RSA President Deborah Warburton gave thanks to the many thousands of people who served in peacetime and during conflict.
We thank you and we salute you, as we salute those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. We will never forget, we will remember them.
Remembrance Sunday events were held at Alexandra's cenotaph ahead of Armistice Day commemorations. Air Training Corps Warrant Officer Alex Lake reminding younger members of the crowd of the need to remember.
Armistice Day is a time for the younger generation to learn and acknowledge the history and the events that shape the society they and many before them have grown up in.
The signing of the Armistice, which ended World War I in 1918, was commemorated on Sunday, a few days earlier than the 11th, at the town's cenotaph. Central Otago Mayor Tim Cadogan says open communication is a good way to prevent wars.
And I think a big part of that is listening to the other person's point of view, because when you actively listen, you'll often hear you have more in common than you think. Generally people want the same thing, they just disagree about how that can be achieved.
This year's event, hosted by the Alexandra Clyde Return and Services Association, featured a flyover by a World War I replica Newport biplane. In Alexandra, the South today.
School pupils from 10 different schools got together as a massed orchestra this week to perform works they've been learning over the year. Playing marimba, xylophone and similar percussive instruments, the pupils performed items based on works by composer Carl Off.
About 200 pupils from 10 different Dunedin schools got to take part this week in performing several massed items which they've been learning all year in their school music groups.
The festival, I think, began in Auckland about 14 years ago, and it was just an excuse to come together and play what you call the Orff instrumentarium. It's just like a set of classroom instruments that a lot of classrooms have somewhere in the back cupboard, mainly featuring the xylophone, and we all come together and just celebrate the joy of music in our primary schools.
Tutor Jeremy Hantler says instruments such as marimbas, xylophones, chime bars and glockenspiels are ideal for youngsters to learn on, as there's very little technique required to play a passable piece of music.
Fundamentally, it's a brilliant first instrument to play because the notes are laid out before you, you see the variation in pitch, you can use different dynamics, you can explore the elements of music straight away as a 3-year-old with a mallet in hand.
Teachers also took part in the performance, doing line dances in time with the music.
I'm a huge fan of line dancing. The teachers not being afraid to sort of get up there and perform sort of breaks the ice for the kids, and we're all here to just show that music's a fantastic and important part of education for our kids.
The music lessons throughout the year have been based on the works and ideas of 20th century German composer Carl Orff, with the objective being that children learn through singing, dancing and playing with musical material drawn from the imaginative and cultural world of the child. In Dunedin, the South today.
After the break on the South today, a new series of multi-purpose cycle tracks have been put to the test at Lake Hawea. Let me check out tomorrow's weather.
Every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell menswear, it fits.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
The business community is very important to the Otago region, and Forsyth Bar, we've been in business for over 80 years, so we feel strongly about growth in the region, and we're therefore pleased to be associated with the Westpac Otago Business Awards. Forsyth Bar's business falls within this category, and it's even an appropriate fit for us to sponsor this category and celebrate business success with the award nominees.
Step into Shop on Carol and discover a shop full of treasures. We have a fantastic range of vintage and retro clothes, upmarket clothing labels, collectible items, beautiful jewellery, quality linen and the best range of vintage haberdashery.
Hi, Al Campbell Menswear. We're back in George Street on the corner of Hanover Street. come and check out our big store. It's a big space full of bargains. Now look at these shirts. There's shirts for everybody here. Look at these merino pullovers, stacks of moleskins, literally tons of trousers. Check out these big racks of sports jackets. Beautiful.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
So come and check out Alex Campbell Menswear. We're back on George Street in the old ANZ building.
Ah, TV, our favourite babysitter. But it can be tough keeping up with what our tamariki are watching. Luckily, the Broadcasting Standards Authority has made some smart changes to the classification labels. Ooh! Plus changes to the time of day certain rated shows will air, and awesome new parental lock features, meaning your babysitter's job is safe. Find out more at safeviewing.co.nz.
Inside are all sorts of innovations from all over China.
Welcome back. A new series of multi-purpose cycle tracks have been put to the test at Lake Hawea at the venue's official opening. Backers say it's taken a good few years and a bit of fundraising to get the facility ready for action.
Flying around their new courses, these experienced cyclists showing the not-so-skilled riders what fun and big air can be had.
Oh, this is normal in this area. We love biking here. We've got over 1,000 members in Bike Wanaka, and Lake Hawea is part of Bike Wanaka's area. So we knew there were a whole heap of kids that lived in the local area that were dying to do some mountain biking around here. A lot of their parents go out and ride in places like Bike Glendu and Sticky Forest, but there's nowhere local for the kids to take part in the sport.
Bike Wanaka's Tim David says this piece of council-owned land has been informally used by cyclists for years, but says these tracks are further cementing Lake Hawea as a hub for cyclists, young and old.
But it's taken us a long time to negotiate with QLDC and allow to have the ability to redevelop this area. And also we had a contribution financially to help us, because we built this using professional trail builders, and we've raised the money through various fundraising efforts, and it's taken us about a year and a half to get to this point.
He says redeveloping the site cost about $40,000, with financial contributions coming from the Queenstown Lakes District Council, as well as from Bike Wanaka's fundraising efforts and bike-friendly businesses. He says there are tracks to suit riders of all skill levels.
I spent a lot of time this afternoon just steering the tiny kids away from the bigger jumps, because they get so excited and so keen, they want to do everything. But there's something for everyone, really.
Tim David says close parent supervision isn't mandatory, but admits mountain biking isn't a risk-free sport. In Lake Hawea, the South Today.
And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South Today. The signing of Armistice Day in 1918, which ended World War I, was commemorated at Dunedin Cenotaph this morning. A young rescuer is celebrated at her school, with her parents thankful for many years of swimming lessons. And a Dunedin artist is inundated with orders for her unique crocheted Christmas decorations. And now for a look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT. Welcome, Craig.
Good evening.
Good evening.
A story out of Central Otago with growing concerns about the increase in methamphetamine use in those towns. Derek Shaw, who heads CIB in the region, said it was slow to arrive in the towns, but now it's certainly well and truly there, and highlighted, I guess, earlier this week by the arrest of a Hawea man in connection with dealing with methamphetamine. They're saying they're regularly seeing cases now, and the associated crime that sort of comes with it as well. There was one case in Central Otago he talks about where a user had spent $60,000 on the drug. So huge money involved. People are saying getting involved recreationally with it, but then getting addicted and just becoming completely out of control. So they're trying to target the kingpins in some of this dealing, and then offer support to those under who have been users. So yeah, big story up there. Dunedin List MP Michael Woodhouse is back in favour with his leader Judith Collins, today being confirmed as the Shadow Finance Minister for the Nats. in their new cabinet lineup. Of course, he lost the health spokesman role and demoted in the lead up to the election, and said today he's very excited about the new opportunities he's got. It's an area he's interested in as well, which helps, I guess. And we also look at Jackie Dean, our Waitaki MP. She's been given the conservation spokeswoman and also assistant speaker, so she's pretty thrilled with it as well. Right. To be fair, they haven't got a lot to choose from at the moment. There aren't many that many in government at the moment. On our arts pages, we welcome back the Royal New Zealand Ballet to the city. It's upcoming performance of Sleeping Beauty at the weekend. Been a tough year for them, really. They'd obviously arranged to have this show touring the country and COVID hit, so it was put on the back burner. We talked to the artistic director, Patricia Barker, about the difficulties of 2020. Finally managed to get it back on stage in Wellington last week, and 2 shows in Dunedin, Saturday, Sunday this week. So well worth going and having a look at.
Great.
And just finally, tomorrow's newspaper will include our quarterly focus on farming magazine, 30+ pages of farming gold out there for everyone. So even those townies amongst us who wear their red bands in the garden, there's plenty of reading for them.
Lovely. Well, thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
All of that and more in tomorrow's ODT. And time now for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Beginning with the southern view, some of the crowd gathered in Dunedin to commemorate Armistice Day. Looking at the situation, westerly airflow will bring fine weather tomorrow and tend to warmer northwesterly on Friday ahead of a cold front due at the weekend with some rain. Starting at the northwest of the South Island, expect partial cloud with 18 degrees in Greymouth and 17 degrees in Westport. To the northeast, mostly sunny in Nelson with 20 degrees and partial cloud in Blenheim with 20 as well. In Canterbury, partial cloud and 18 degrees in both Kaikoura and Christchurch, while Ashburton can expect 18 and sunshine. To the southern towns, the Catlins can expect a moderate northeasterlies, some cloud and 17 degrees, Balclutha light northwesterlies and 20 degrees, and Lumsden and Gore moderate westerlies and 18. To the Central Lakes, light northerlies and fine conditions for most of the area with 21 degrees in Queenstown and Wanaka and 23 in Alexandra. Te Anau can expect moderate westerlies, cloud and 16 degrees. To the northern towns, light northeasterlies and some cloud on the coast with 18 degrees in Timaru and 17 degrees in Oamaru. Inland, light winds and fine conditions with 22 degrees in Twizel and Omarama. In Dunedin, fine tonight with an overnight low of 7. Milder tomorrow with early low cloud clearing, then fine with sunny periods and some high cloud with moderate northeasterlies. High of 17 and low of 9. Warmer northwesterly winds freshening on Friday with high cloud increasing. A high of 23 and a low of 13. And in Invercargill, some cloud tonight with an overnight low of 8. Fine tomorrow with sunny periods with some cloud and moderate westerlies. High of 15 and a low of 9. Warmer northwesterlies freshening on Friday with cloud increasing, rain developing at night. A high of 20 and a low of 13. That's all for our news this Wednesday. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz or follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.